Hello, everyone, and welcome to Different Stages Radio. I'm your host, JJ, broadcasting in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And my guest today is a Swedish prog legend, you know, from his early beginnings in Kaipa to now his 30 plus years leading the Flower Kings, who are about to release their 17th studio album, Love, on May the 2nd on Inside Out Music. Please welcome my guest, Roine Stolt. How are you?
Oh, yeah, that sounds a bit scary, the whatever the 35 years or 50 years is like.
I didn't mean to date you, just trying to show that you're well seasoned.
Oh, right, right,
You're,
right.
you're
Yeah,
well
yeah,
experienced. Not that you're, that OLD word, that
yeah.
you're well
Or,
experienced.
or maybe wise.
Wise. There you go. Wise beyond your years.
Wiser than I was, than I used to be.
Now, is Love really going to be the 17th The Flower Kings studio album?
Oh, so they say.
So they say, yes.
Someone told me, maybe the record label. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. I think when I started the Flower Kings many, many years ago, I was thinking this is probably going to be like the main thing I'm going to do for a very long time. But you never know. You never know. It's either it works or it doesn't work, or you run out of ideas, or it's no fun anymore and you want to do something else. But we keep going, as long as it's fun and as long as we can come up with music that feels right and interesting, and you can feel that you can sort of develop things even if we're sort of moving within a certain frame. There's still something new you can try every album. We've tried little bits and pieces.
Well, it seems you're not losing any ideas or any steam because it's only been, 2 years since Look at Us Now. You definitely have one of
Yeah,
the
no,
more prolific discographies and catalogs out there.
yeah.
The first two singles from Love, which are outstanding. Can You Leave Us Now is the first single. And then, yeah, Burning Both Edges, great single as well. Had the
Yeah.
fortunate pleasure of hearing the whole album and a couple other standouts. Opening track, We Claim the Moon, is great.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Everything in the
Yes.
middle is awesome. But yeah, the considerations, the closure is
Oh,
just
yeah,
brilliant and crushing. Like, just love the feel, the space, the dynamics on the album. Can you discuss maybe a couple of those tracks or even the first couple of singles, if you like, just to give people a taste of what they can expect if they haven't dived in yet?
Yeah, what can I say? It's well, what can I say about the songs really? I mean, from my point of view, you always try to get to the core. If you know what I mean. You like to write songs that mean something. I don't like to write songs that's just fancy words. It's, oh, that sounds right, singing, or playing or writing music that just have a sound, certain sound, to sound right in this moment, because this is how the other bands sound, or this seems to be like a popular sound right now. I've never been like that. I've always wanted to just go the direction that feels right, in your heart. And with the songwriting, and with the music and the lyrics too. So I think you're gradually getting closer and closer to to the very core, so to speak. So in that sense, I feel this album is very close to me. And then of course is all the, I mean, how the does the album sound like, sound wise? What kind of mix? What kind of keyboard sounds? What kind of soundscapes are we into? And I realized that it's quite a dynamic album. In these times, everything is sort of crushing. This, in particular, progressive rock is like walls of guitars and keyboards crushing, and drums are really compressed and in your face. And this album isn't really like that. It's more like it has more in common, I think, with recordings from the late 60s or early 70s, when music was a little bit more dynamic, and ups and downs, and I mean, it's just finishing the album. I just felt I was listening in the stereo system, and in a really good system, and felt like Oh, you can really feel like it's almost like you're in the room when you feel the drums that way. It sort of punch you in the guts, in a good way. It's not super compressed, but really, I mean, you can feel the kick drum, you can feel the snare drum, like it's in the room. That's a good feeling. That's a good feeling. So it's I think we ended up in a good place sonically, I think, with the album, and of course the material also.
Well, I agree, and I think your breakdown is very accurate as far as the sonic sound and the dynamics on it, because that was something that that's always attracted me to your music. But I find it even may stand out that pinch more on this record, where it really feels like it's not that I'm listening to something of necessarily the prog rock style, but of the era, that it has that space and dynamic and production quality of something from that era without sounding dated. It just sounds so warm and fresh and calming. And that was kind of making me wonder too, like, where does that space and I guess the word I'm looking for, discipline, that you seem to have. Like, is that something that you've picked up along the way, or is that something that you just have?
No, definitely. A bit of it, I think, was there in the beginning, but I think that a lot of it is picked up along the way, being very critical, a lot of self-criticism, of course, in a good sense. I mean, not like in a destructive way, but I think it's to listen to your own music, to listen to your old recordings and realize what was wrong, where you didn't reach the point where you felt, oh, that's what I wanted to do. Is rather, oh, we almost went there. It's like, oh, but the drum sound was too compressed, or it was too much reverb on the vocals, or you can, after a couple of years, you hear things, oh, they should have done that different, or that section in the song wasn't really needed, because that's another thing, to write music, come up with ideas, that's the simple part. But to decide what should be in the song and what's the essence of the song, and to have the discipline to maybe to cut out bits and pieces that's not needed to tell the story or whatever. So to make very long progressive rock pieces, we can do that, and we have done that. And some of them are good, but some of them are now, I think, looking back, not so good. I would have cut them down, maybe something that was 18 minutes, I could cut down to maybe to 8 minutes, and it would have been a great song. So I think, I mean, you just learn as you go along, and make records and play live, of course, and not only about our music, but also listening to other musicians. It could be whatever. It could be old Beatles recordings, or an old Genesis record, or it could be an Elton John song, or whatever. It can be something modern that comes out now, and I can sort of analyze and think, what is it that I like about this recording, or what is it that I like the way they play or they arrange the music. So it's a learning process going on all the time.
But do you find it's a bit more of a challenge maybe to find some current stuff that can become inspiring rather than just perhaps maybe going back to stuff from the day?
Uh, well, I mean, I just wish I had more time to try to explore. Sometimes you bump into something. I was actually listening to something today that I was pleasantly surprised about. I can't remember the name of the band now, but I mean, in the also in the well, the recent progressive scene is like a lot of elements coming in from metal and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Some of it I'm not super impressed, because I think it's as a kind of one dimensional, and lots of riffing, and I think the riffing is ongoing all the time, so you get tired after a while. And but I like it when you can when it's dynamic, and suddenly you can hear and this particular thing I was listening today, I was oh, that's a really good singer, because they have sort of taken down, once the guy started singing, they were taking it down, and there was almost like a small synth thing or a guitar, and you could hear this guy's voice, and it was beautiful, very cleverly, but then super heavy in between. And there's also a band, I think an American band called Polyphia. I don't know if you're familiar with Polyphia.
Polyphia, no.
No, no,
Your
check
band,
them out.
Polyphia. Okay, good to know. Listeners, tell me about Polyphia.
Polyphia,
Okay,
tell him.
okay.
It's, I would say the music is sometimes has an influence of flamenco or a Spanish touch, but it's kind of metal, The drums are kind of heavy, and sometimes they're riffing, but sometimes it's acoustic guitars and sometimes it's just clean electric guitars, I mean, in the sense of rhythm, I think, and melody. Very interesting band, and I would call them progressive, not particularly progressive rock, but
Well,
progressive music.
I'm excited to
What?
check it out after the show.
Yeah, yeah.
Now,
Please
now,
do.
now but back to your albums and Love and all the other records. When it comes to the lyrics and or the compositions, arrangements, is it 99% yourself or 100% yourself, or do the other band members get involved with the creation?
Well, they do occasionally. For this album, I think it's just one song by our keyboard player, and I should know the title of the song. I can probably tell you now, but I think it's World Spinning. That's the
Yep,
keyboard player.
yep.
It's a short one. And then you have Considerations, that is the last song of the album. That's my brother, Michael, the bass player,
Yep.
and also one of the background singers. They've written the song together. I mean, the lyrics for that song. But Michael came up with that song and just sending me the stuff, and I was like, oh, that could be something, and something that we will play live also.
Nice. And you have those dates coming up, which is pretty exciting. You got some dates happening with Neal Morse, who I had on the show a couple of weeks ago. And
Oh yeah, yeah,
you're going to
true,
be
true.
starting tour May 29th in Sweden, which is exciting. And you're
Yeah,
yeah, doing some dates with Neal Morse. First couple dates are solo, he was mentioning, just him solo
yeah,
with Neal Morse and the Resonance from May 29th through June 15th. That's pretty
yeah,
exciting. Looking forward.
yeah. Definitely. I mean, we've done a couple of tours. I mean, besides Transatlantic, of course, but other than that, we've done a couple of things together with him and with Neal Morse band at the time, with Mike Portnoy also. And then he just sent me mail say, "Oh, how do you feel about doing a tour?" I remember we did a tour 10 years ago, It was one of the best tours in my life, and we had already planned another tour for May actually. But thinking of it, well, that's probably the right thing to do right now, And they have an album out, and we just released an album, so it kind of makes sense, And there's, of course, as you understand, material that we can play. People will ask for, oh, can you play a transatlantic song? Yeah, sure, we can.
That's the thing. Yeah,
We
it's got to be that encore experience, definitely.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. So it seemed like a good idea to me.
And what is it about Neal that you guys hit it off and connect and do so well together?
I don't know. I think it's just like respect, I suppose. We met the first time, I think back in 90, well, could have been 97 or 98 when we played with the Flower Kings in America for the first time. We played a show, a festival in Los Angeles, and Neil just, you know, they were playing with Spock Spear too. I didn't know about the band at the time. And so we met there, and then he sent me some email asking for contacts in Europe for shows and touring and stuff like that. So we just kept in contact. And then, of course, this came up with Transatlantic, and asking if I wanted to join. They were putting together him and Mike, and they had Pete Trevavas from Marillion, and I didn't know these guys at the time that well. I knew Neil, but I didn't know much of Marillion. I didn't know much of Dream Theater, actually. So, but that was, yeah, I mean, it was just like something that just took off like that. Even the first album. So, I mean, the combination of ideas just work well together.
Probably pretty endless. Now with Mike, though, being back in Dream Theater, is it safe to assume that Transatlantic then is kind of on hold, on hiatus, and will probably maybe do another record at some point, or it's just kind of in limbo?
Never say never, but I would imagine that. And I think it's, I mean, just looking back at those 5 albums we did, and I think the last show we did was in Paris, and that was recorded, and that was really a good show. So I think it's in a way
Nice way to wrap
very
it up.
perfect, yeah, like a perfect ending to everything, rather than going on and just making albums and then going downhill. So it works fine for me.
Not that you don't have
Mm.
enough going on. Now, back to dates when I mentioned earlier about how this is essentially the 30th anniversary of the debut full-on The Flower Kings album. Yeah, Back in the World of Adventures. It's also the 25th anniversary, not to date you or feel bad, Space Revolver. Now that
Mm.
those dates are in front of you, has there been any thought of maybe doing something special for those albums, as far as maybe doing a live show, doing maybe one or both of those albums front to back? Any sort of
Oh.
anniversary packaging, maybe some reissues with demos and live stuff and all that kind of thing?
I mean, the reissues are, I think, underway. Most of it, I think, actually is already released on vinyl and reissued on CD. And what I did for these albums was, generally speaking, like half the album or 25% of the album or something like that, or 30% of the album remixed, and all of the album remasters. So these are out on Inside Out, and I don't know what to do more than that, really. Yeah, of course, I mean, there's always a possibility you could do like people do nowadays, a special Space Revolver show or something like that, or whatever. You know, that's something that could be done, I suppose. But I mean, it's like, I mean, when we play shows now, we play some songs from back in the World of Adventures. So that's part of the set list. But I don't know. I mean, there's so much going on, and there's already plans for. I mean, we have the next album after this is already half the album is sort of the basic tracks are laid down, and we're thinking of lots of different things. I just before I talk to you, I'm talking to a guy that does I mean, score music, with a big orchestra. So we're talking about stuff like that. So maybe for next album, maybe for a special project of something. I don't know. So there's so much that can be done. It's I don't know, and so little time, I have to say,
Well, that's
because everything takes time. So I don't know, but I probably it's you know whatever feels right at the moment, I think.
well. I have a feeling, not to put words in your mouth, but you're always wanting to move forward and look ahead and not maybe necessarily go back because you're always seeming that you're wanting to create fresh, whether it's with the Flower Kings or like you have with Transatlantic, and then also like the Anderson Stolt album, for example. Like, might we see another one of those maybe, or might we see another See Within album maybe?
Yeah.
As you smirk.
Yeah. See, within I fear not, because there's so much going on with the other guys. Tom Briston is in Kansas now, and Jonas is out with Steve Hackett. So I would imagine not. See within, that was just a one-off, and I think Daniel Gildenlöv was quitting the band even before the album was out. So yeah, so that was a bit strange, but definitely the Anderson Stolt is. I mean, just the other week I got in drum tracks from Don Perry, who used to be the drummer with Jethro Tull for about 25 years.
Hmm.
He lives in California. He sent me drum tracks for a couple of songs. So that's slowly taking shape for the second. And John sent me some new stuff, because that's what John does. Come up with some news. Oh, here's a few new songs ideas, and I say, oh, we already have so much. I need to really make the songs we have work, and then see where we end up with this, and then we can maybe look at new songs. So it's very much like he's just like, whatever. Oh, I'll send you this, and you can do whatever you want with them, and that type of thing. And but as said, it's a lot to juggle right now. And then we have this tour coming up, and there's lots of technical stuff coming up for that. And and of course learning new songs. But it's let's say it's an ongoing project, and if we're lucky, we can maybe have something ready this year for release
That's exciting.
or a start.
For now, with the
Yeah.
2025 that run you're doing with Neal Morse that ends in June, shall we assume that there will be more dates throughout summer and perhaps a fall run, or is that kind of
I have no idea. I mean, I could imagine maybe something happen in America, but you never know. It's America's difficult these days in many ways, actually, as
oh,
you
you
may
don't
know.
need to tell if a Canadian up above.
Yeah. You probably know all about that. But I mean, it's never say never, but it would be nice. But I can't tell right now. I think what we do now is just do the tour and see what happens and how it feels, and maybe we can look into something else.
Down the road.
Mm,
Now,
yeah.
another question for people that are maybe, they've been on the bubble, they've maybe heard a couple tracks from you, whether it be in other projects or the Flower Kings throughout the years, or even maybe they heard some Kaipa way back in the day. For somebody who's maybe still kind of hasn't fully dove in,
Mhm.
do you maybe recommend maybe two, three, 70 of your albums
Oh,
that you played
my.
on, maybe that might be like, hey, for a beginner's guide to Roine Stolt, anything that
Oh,
comes to mind?
oh my goodness. I
Other than Love, of course, which everybody needs to pick up Love on May the 2nd.
yeah. I'm thinking that maybe Start As We Are is a good starting point because it's there's so much in there, so much to explore. It's a bit of rocking sometimes, a bit of soundscapes, it's very melodical sides of it, sometimes more progressive, sometimes a little lighter, keyboard based. Some really good songwriting in there, and I think probably that's a good starting point. Start As We Are would be a if you like what you hear on Stardust, I think you can go any direction, actually.
So that's kind of the centerpiece, and then you can veer off into all the different.
A little bit because it has a little bit of everything in there. So I think it's maybe not sonically the best sounding album, I have to say, but I think most people go in there for the music in the first place. So I think that well, it sounds fine. It's a good album, but it's I think we've come a long way, technically speaking, with the mixing and with the mastering and recording since then. So I think speaking of the music, I would say Stardust is a good starting point to get to know the Flower Kings.
Excellent. But they should also get to know Love, which comes out on May the 2nd, once
Oh,
on Inside Out.
okay.
They must get to know Love because Love is brilliant. Like
I know.
just once again, the flow, that's the thing going back to not just sonically, but the flow. I often mention when I'm speaking to, say, someone like yourself or Neal who understand the flow of an album. It's not just having good songs, but that's the thing. It's like these are album experiences, which is on its own, I find very much a lost art.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, I have to say, for Love, it's like you don't find like a 20-minute song in it, but the way we wanted to construct the album is to have well 10 or 12 songs in it. But in these songs, you have elements, sometimes melodies, sometimes a chorus, sometimes even a lyric bits of lyrics that comes back later in another song. So to sort of connect the songs in a way, you start, this is a starting point, and then you go to the end, and along the way you will recognize bits and pieces of themes or melodies. Very much like progressive rock and even like symphonic classical music used to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the idea, at least. I think most people will find it maybe not the first time, but after a few listens, they will say, "Ah, I recognize that melody. Ah, the same as that song."
But it
So
all
it
has
connects.
purpose.
Yeah.
Which reminds me too of the Kaiser Razor, that leading into the Phoenix. I thought just that was a cool moment in the middle of the record.
It is
That's
indeed. Yeah, it is. It's yeah. I mean, there's as I said, it's a bit of everything in there, and a bit of playfulness, and there's a bit of seriousness in there, of course, and there's a bit of symphonic music and there's a bit of rocking. Not so much. I think we skipped a little bit of the metal bits that we had in some of the early albums because so many bands are doing this metal riffing anyway. So I think to stand out, maybe focus on the more lyrical side, the more uh, let's say the classic pop elements of it, and some of the folk music. That's the Swedish folk music that used to be in the Flower Kings music also, you know. Because it's important to try to stand out from other bands, you know, to show a different side of music than anyone else, I think. But I think we succeeded with the album to have all these little bits and pieces and sometimes a bit of unexpected elements, you know.
Well, I think the fans will be pleased, and I'm very pleased with the time that you took on Different Stages Radio today, Roine Stolt. And please, everybody, pick up a copy of Love on May the 2nd. There's multi-format vinyl, I believe, multiple color editions out there. CD,
Oh, yeah, sure.
physical product is always the best way to go. And be sure to see the Flower Kings on tour with Neal Morse starting in Sweden on May 29th through June 15th. And
True.
and hopefully we'll see some more maybe Anderson Stolt maybe later in the year, perhaps.
Yeah. Hope keeping fingers crossed.
So once again, thanks to Roine. This is
Yeah,
Different
no problem.
Stages Radio.